Alrighty, all welcome back to the channel. We're back on the internet together again today, and we're going to be talking about the rise of One Nation. Older Gen X and millennials are moving towards them. Gone are the days as Pauline Hanson and her fellow senators being seen as crackpots. Could they have been right all along? I think more and more people are starting to think maybe Pauline was onto something.
Thank you so much for watching. Let us bring back our combination from last week. People really love seeing Sean Bell, who is the One Nation Senator from New South Wales, and our wonderful favourite, none other than Linda Scott, who's free of all responsibilities, but still able to her bootstraps. Now, the dismissal documentary, it'll be up next week, of course. Looking forward to it. Chris Ullman with the story of how old mate got the biscuit 50 years ago. And remember the postscript? 2 further elections and the Australian people did not reverse the decision. Important to always know. All right, news poll today. Unsurprisingly, majority of Australians have a problem with the concept of Big Australia and how fast we're going to be heading there. According to the news poll, 64% of voters want fewer immigrants moving to Australia.
How can there be another 36% of people who think it's a good idea to keep bringing more and more people in? Are these people who are not in areas living in suburbs that are being congested, where infrastructure is under pressure, or people who are struggling in the job market because there's a lot more competition in certain sectors? Not all people who come over from India, the UK, all over the world, they're not all doing gig economy work. They're not all working in restaurants for cash in hand. They're not all doing Deliveroo, Uber Eats and all of that. A lot of them are professionals. And so they're putting downward pressure on professional wages as well. People say, nah, you cooked, G-man. What are you talking about? I know a number of people who are out of work at the moment, and they're saying there's been a lot of downward pressure on what they thought the market rate was for their services when they go and interview, because it's now an employer's market because there are just so many people looking for jobs. So I can't understand it. So we've got 64% of people saying, yep, there's too many people. Can we just turn the tap off, please? It isn't, we are racist, we hate migrants. It's, can we just turn it off? There's too many people. Can the country develop? Can housing catch up? And then let's talk about it. You got 36% of the population that somehow are not seeing a problem here. You've got rents that are through the roof. You've got rental availability through the floor. You've got property prices going up. People say to me, gee man, nah, you're a nutcase. You are smoking off the glass barbie. You're cooking on the glass barbie. You're on the shard. Immigration's got nothing to do with house prices. Okay, well, can you explain how? More people means more houses that are required for people to live in, which means demand goes up. Now, supply isn't keeping in step. That's why we've got a problem.
Now, we know that there is a very significant number of people, particularly in the sort of Gen X and older millennial age, that are starting to embrace One Nation, and particularly when it surrounds this issue. But of course, Sean, if you dare say a word about it, if you mention this in the Senate, the tutting and the tutting can be heard all the way up and down the Hume.
It's very interesting. So I fell for this when I was growing up, even 20 years ago. We've got Pauline Hanson, even in the 90s, 30 years ago, trying to make her name, break into the Senate, get into Parliament, and she's called, they had her on the news making fun of her. She's just the bogan, crackpot, fish and chip shop owner who doesn't know shit from clay, and she's a racist and belongs in the 1950s. And I'm ashamed to say that actually worked on me. I thought, have a look at this nut job saying all these things. Outrageous. 30 years on, I'm a grown up. I'm seeing the impact of her being ignored. I wouldn't be surprised if, who knows, maybe not her, but One Nation does get in and has a majority. And I'm not talking about now, but I'm talking down the line if things continue to get worse. Labor are going to continue blowing up the country. Liberal just as bad, really. So who's going to be the next best option? What I can see is I have no faith in Australians to have common sense. The general public, they'll continue to vote Labor. They'll continue to vote Albanese in, regardless of what's happened over the last 6 months. Like the quality of life, I'd say for most people, would be degrading at a very rapid rate. Everything's going through the roof. Electricity, that was supposed to come down, wasn't it? That's gone through the roof. Other utilities, they're going through the roof. Groceries, we're being price gouged week on week. Just keep a mental tracker of some of the products that you like to buy. Just keep a mental note, something that's easy, rounded numbers if you can, and go and see what the price of that is in 2 months. I guarantee you it'll be more than what it is. Then we've got unemployment, absolutely cooked. Now, people will say, no, the unemployment rate, it's really good. I don't know where they get these numbers from. I don't know what they count as employed. You work in 1 hour a week or you're casually employed. We've earned $1 in the whole year. I don't know how that works, but as I said, I know a lot of people who are well qualified, well regarded in their industries and fields out of work. Can't get an interview. Don't even get a call back when they put their resumes in. They send off 50 bloody resumes, sitting there all week, all month, day in, day out, looking for jobs and applying. Not even getting a call. And that isn't just one person. You can say, well, that person must be doing something wrong. They're not even getting rejection emails. They're not even getting through the amount of CVs that are going in. I know people that work in human resources, they tell me, they go for jobs that I know I would have put up a few years ago and gotten 40 applications for. I'm getting 2,000. I can't even read them. I've got to bin most of them and just take a sample. There you go.
Paul, the Labor Party and the Greens, they like to call One Nation far right, but the reality is we're right so far. And as the polling shows, the Australian people agree with us.
I like that. He's off to a good start. Second appearance, good luck. He's on it. This is good. Keep going.
Thanks, Paul. I mean, and look, but in all seriousness, this is a huge problem. The people of Australia are crying out for the Labor Party to listen to them, and the Labor Party are not listening to them. They're continuing to inflict these high rates of immigration onto Australia. It's driving people into homelessness. And it's driving housing prices right up. And the solution is very simple: end mass immigration. One Nation can say it, and the people hear us, and that's why we're doing so well in the polls.
So presumably, Linda, the 64% would cover more than just the 15% that are there for One Nation, more than the 24% that would be there for the Libs, meaning potentially there's one or two Labor voters who also agree that we're in the wrong spot right now.
Look, this is the issue with One Nation and the Coalition. They are all spin, but just no substance. Jobs and Skills Australia released a really significant report today looking at the skill matrix that we need for the future for Australia's economic prosperity and our productivity. And a key part of that is making sure we have enough skills in the country to do the jobs that our companies need. And part of that lever is, and always has been for Australia, migration. It's so critical that we fill the skill shortages in places like construction from better training, better trades here, but also from migration. And the notion that we can somehow pretend that that is not an economic fact, it is not good for productivity, is just false and misleading. And so if we have somehow dramatic cuts to migration, we are at risk of tanking our economy, and that is what One Nation won't tell you about. The other thing I think it's important...
I don't know, I'm not really on board with that. Now, I do think Australians, a lot of them do need to kick up the arse because they don't work as hard and they won't do certain jobs that people from other countries will do. Right? I'm not going to single out any country, but all these service jobs, hard labour, cleaning jobs, stuff like that, that people who are migrants do, who might not have good English skills and may not have a qualification. They won't do these jobs, so these people come and take them. So I do think a lot of Australians who are not skilled need to kick up the arse to get out there and be making sure that they're doing what they can to have a job. But in saying that also, you're bringing in a lot of tradespeople that are from foreign countries, foreign backgrounds. And I've been told, I have friends who work in the trades, they are not good. They are not as skilled. They are cowboys, they will cut corners. The quality is just not there. Now, you can't speak for every single person, obviously, but in general, the standards, they just don't meet the standard. They just don't meet the standard. So is that who you want building your houses? Because I can tell you now, the houses that are getting built at the moment, they're fucking made out of tissue paper. Leaky boats, but he leaked from day one. You're going to be you're going to be on the phone. You're going to be on the blower trying to get the builder back there under builder's insurance to fix all the defects that you're going to find over the first couple of years if you buy a new place. So I don't support that at all. What needs to happen is there needs to be more incentives for young people to go into trades. A lot of people over the last, say, 20 years or so, they've been chasing the university dream because it has been marketed that you'll make more money on average. And maybe that's true. If you get into a high in demand profession, lawyer, accountancy, a doctor, whatever it may be. But not everyone's making the big bucks. And now it's flooded. And now you've got so many people with degrees competing for a shrinking market of jobs. So how do we make it more that local Australian citizens will go and get upskilled and do trades? Because I think that's very important, those skills. And people can make a lot of money. People look down on trades. You can make a shitload of money if you're an astute business person as well and you can run your own show. I'm not saying everyone can do it. Like, you need to have the business skills on top of the technical trade skills. That's my opinion anyway. I'm just ranting here today.
To say here, Paul, is that, under Labor, they have driven up skilled migration and looked at the other bits of our migration mix to make sure it was more balanced. That did not happen under the Coalition. Under the Coalition, they had growth in some sectors of the migration program, particularly in international students, but not in the areas where our economy necessarily always needed it. So,
would you not give me, just slightly, would you not give me that perhaps, for want of a better term, the left of Australia, politics, intelligentsia, media, for decades, has now said everyone must finish year 12 and fingers crossed as many people as possible go to university. That the problem with the skill shortage is because we have, for want of a better term, kind of scandalised the choice of picking up a hammer. I mean, remember...
Absolutely. And why is that? I'm very critical of universities. I've been through the university system. I've also done a trade as well. I've done both. I can tell you now, it's a degree factory, right? You got people, especially international students and high volumes of them, coming over and spending money to get qualifications when they are not capable enough and fluent enough in the English language, and also haven't demonstrated, to my firm belief, good ability to pass and get that degree awarded to them, even at a pass level. But they're getting them because they're paying $50,000 for a term or a semester or a year, whatever it is. Like, they're paying double or triple what a local student will pay. And then you've got kids that are told at year 12, you must go and do a degree. Otherwise, your life's basically over. Go get a HECS debt and be in debt for years and years and years, basically. Just keep pumping up the industrial university educational complex. That's what I call it. I think it's very much oversaturated. Let's talk about one other thing before I move this on a little bit. Advanced degrees, MBAs. So Masters of Business Administration. I recall when I first entered the professional workforce around 15 years ago, that was still somewhat of a big deal if you had one of those. You stood out from the crowd. Now, at the time, a lot of people were getting them. Now everyone's got them. They've even got them before they even get their first job. They do an undergraduate degree, and they go and do their what do you call it? Masters of Business Administration, Masters of Finance, before they've even got a job. And that's the benchmark to get into a lot of these jobs. Completely oversaturated.
Remember when, and again, I'm not suggesting you've got to sit here and defend Kim Beazley, right? But remember all that Education Australia? Remember when Julia Gillard again fought this, built into the DNA of Labor governments or Labor oppositions has been go to uni, go to uni, go to uni, go to uni. Now there might be more efforts to go to TAFE, go to TAFE. But I think culturally, we could have avoided the need to import skills if we had embraced the opportunities of more kids to be able to go and get them.
Well, look, I'm a proud lefty and my dad was a very proud TAFE teacher. So I won't give it to you because I do think that the left has really embraced TAFE and training. They've embraced policies to have free TAFE right across the country right now. I keep encouraging James Ashby to go to TAFE. He won't listen to me. It'll be a good thing under this government and under their free TAFE policies. So I don't agree with
you. They go encourage people to go and do, say, arts degrees, liberal arts, gender studies, anthropology, whatever it might be. Something that's not really going to get you a high chance of getting a job. You're going to be $50,000 in debt, $100,000 down the hole, and you're going to be working at Gloria Jean's making coffees. And I've got no issue with people doing that job, but you don't need a degree to do it. You don't need 100 grand of debt to be working at Gloria Jean's.
With you, but we do need to have a more concerted effort to get people into these areas and training in places like construction, a great industry, great roles, but also to get the houses for the future built.
All right, let's get to the free power announcement that was made today by the Climate and Energy Minister, Chris Bowen. This is him explaining how, depending on if you fill out the right form and you're in the right state, for a couple of hours, you'll get free power during the middle of the day.
What it means is that energy companies will be required to offer you, if you have a smart meter, 3 hours of free power in the middle of the day when we have so much solar energy in the system.
Okay, so we now know that it's not going to...
Fuck, they should be giving people some freebies. I tell you what, the amount of money Australians pay on electricity charges to energy retailers who are mostly international conglomerates. It's not even Australian owned. We've all been sold off. Yeah, how about we can get 1 hour of free electricity a day? I'm sure there's some catch behind all of that. And I'm going to talk about net zero. Don't you worry about that. I'm not done yet. I'm fully charged. Net zero is going to get it. It's going to get it in a few minutes.
Really matter what the fine print is. It's not going to matter what the asterisks, again, that it's not for every state and not for everyone. But Sean, I can feel a slogan coming on that's going to get a public information campaign behind it, which of course will be shoved right down our throats. What do you think of what they've done here, and do you think it'll be popular?
Paul, it's free energy. It's free. It's just free.
It's free.
I can't believe I didn't think of it. It's just free. Why is he being so stingy? Why is it only 3 hours? Why not just make it free all day? And the reality is, it's this policy of free energy. It's only slightly more absurd than Labor's flagship policy of net zero. And so it's no surprise that Chris Bowen's one of the architects of the whole net zero policy has come up with this new free energy policy.
Net zero, in my opinion, is the biggest gaslighting from a government ever into the populace. Getting people to sign up. Did we vote, though, for net zero? It was just a Labor policy. We didn't sign up for that. They're going to go and spend $150 billion to $200 billion over the next 10 years or so in developing renewable infrastructure. Trying to virtue signal to the world that we're doing our bit to not pollute the planet. So I read an article very recently, and look, take these numbers with a grain of salt, but I thought it was a good statistic. Australia, in 1 year, so in 12 months, will have the same pollution level as what China does in 1 week. And they're not doing net zero fucking by 2035 or whatever it is. What difference is this going to make apart from making life very, very expensive for your average punter out there, the working class, the middle class, small businesses, big businesses who have a heavy power usage, manufacturing? A huge impact. Didn't they say it's clean energy? Hang on. So you're going and putting down solar farms on farmland. You got wind farms drilled into the hills everywhere, eyesores. You got huge transmission lines that need to connect these wind farms to the distribution network. What's clean about it? You're destroying the environment. You got offshore wind drilled into the sea floor, ruining the habitat for the marine life, probably causing pollution down there. They got huge wires that are drilled into the ground and cables that are going up through the sea floor. Yeah, that's clean energy, guys. Clean energy. All right, let's jump into the next one while I've still got a bit of steam in me.
Easy government was re-elected in May. An incoming government brief was prepared for Chris Bowen, which told him electricity prices would rise for consumers and emissions reductions would have to accelerate rapidly if the government wanted to reach its key 2030 climate target. Parts of that secret report has now been published. However, much of it has been redacted. Joining us live this morning from Canberra, the National Senator Matt Canavan. Matt, good to see you this morning. So did this post-election briefing tell us anything we didn't already know?
Well, it does mean that there are a lot of questions here for Chris Bowen now. I mean, what has he been keeping secret from the Australian people? And Anthony Albanese, as Chris Bowen advised the Prime Minister, that there are significant retail electricity price increases to come. That's what his department advised him months ago. He's been keeping that secret from the Australian people. I haven't heard Chris Bowen be upfront with us all that this is about to happen. And if you are given advice that Australians are set to suffer even more with even more electricity price increases, why hasn't the government reflected on its plans and tried to come up with another plan to provide relief? Later this year, the government's band-aid...
Because the government's flat broke. The government can't provide relief. The government's relying, especially in Victoria, on taxing everybody. Taxing everybody out of the butt to try and claw back money. It's absolutely cooked over here.
Relief to provide electricity rebates will end, and Australians will face higher electricity bills because of that. And then on top of that, there are these further retail price increases to come. This government's net zero agenda is completely failing. It's failing on its own terms because they promised us that net zero would lower power prices. Instead, it's done the opposite.
And how would it not do the opposite? You've got to think about this. Just think about how much the Australian public is getting taken for a ride here. So our taxpayer dollars are being used by the government to pay these tier one contractors to go and build this infrastructure. Then those infrastructure companies are charging an arm and a leg to the retail network for them to access the energy coming from that. Guess what? That pushes up the prices for us, so we're getting hit twice. Should be screaming about it. Destroying farmland, destroying livelihoods, generational businesses. Yeah, who cares? Who gives a shit?
Time we reflect now on whether this is the smart way to reduce emissions, to support our economy, to keep manufacturing in Australia, and to help Australian families who are struggling with the higher price of everything in this country. I mean, now Chris Bowen's got to get up front with the Australian people. Stop treating us like mushrooms and provide us the real advice about the state of our energy market.
Those rebates that you spoke of, should they be extended?
Look, well, we can't keep doing that forever. They come at a cost of billions of dollars every year. The government's budget is already in billions of dollars of debt, and it's getting worse and worse over the next few years. So, look, I would much prefer a model where we get the price down because providing rebates doesn't get the cost down. The cost then is just shifted from electricity consumers to taxpayers if we go down the rebate path. What we have to do to keep that manufacturing industry alive as well is to get the price of electricity down. And the clearest way to do that is to use the resources we have, use the power stations we have to supply more power. We currently have an electricity market where, because of the artificial way it's run, our coal-fired power plants are lucky to run 50, 60% of the time. They could run 80 to 90% of the time.
How about nuclear? Let's just do that. Let's have common sense. Let's have people with business now making decisions here, not people following climate change agendas. You can't prove if climate change is real or if it's not real. It seems to be an ideology at the moment. Now, I'm sure I'm going to cop a bit of shit for that in the comments from people, but that's my honest opinion on it. Where is the science for either way? It's just a bit of a vibe at the moment. Once again, is Australia going to have any meaningful impact on the world? We're just a little island in the middle of nowhere, 27, 28 million people on it, giving off F all carbon compared to India, Vietnam, Thailand, the US, China, Russia. They're not fucking signing up to it. I think it's just the dumbest thing ever. Go woke, go broke. Australia's definitely going broke, isn't it? As they say.
Why don't we unleash that and produce and put more supply into the market?
It sounds like we're going to have
to... providing subsidies, I'd get more supply.
It sounds like you're perhaps open then to an extension of the rebates, though, while they work out another plan. But isn't that going to fly in the face of, Susan Lee's plan to cut back on spending?
Well, no, I haven't said that. I don't really want to do the rebates, I must say. Look, in saying that, Peter, we're not in government right now, so I can't, come December this year, I don't think there's much prospect that I or anyone in the Liberal National Party will be a minister. So we can't make that decision. That'll be up to the government. They'll have to suffer the consequences one way or another of doing it. They've put us in this mess. What we have to do is develop a plan ahead of the next election for what we would do in 2028. And as I say, I think what we should do is increase the supply of power.
All right, I just wanted to squeeze in a couple of questions on the environmental laws, Matt. So the minister will be able to ignore green tape laws in rare circumstances to push through projects deemed to be in the national interest. That's the latest addition to all of this. Would that be enough to gain coalition support for the reforms?
Well, I think this is smoke and mirrors, Peter. There is...
So more or less the government can do whatever the hell they want. Make the rules and then break them if they need to. All right, I'm going to leave it there, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this content, let me know. If you have any topic ideas you'd like for me to talk about, let me know in the comments or shoot me an email. My email can be found in the video description. Thank you very much. See you in the next one all. Have a great evening.